Hello everyone, Fru here. Welcome to today's presentation. So today's presentation is going to be a very fascinating one because we're going to be talking about a topic that is very dear to my heart, and that is ETL, extract, transform, load, or the process of data integration. I've spent quite a bit of my professional career working with ETL systems, building them, talking about them, selling ETL solutions. I have friends and people who are in the industry, and I've seen the industry grow, evolve, and be very useful over the years. And so it's a very difficult position to be in, to sit back and reflect at the philosophical or rhetorical perspective, to wonder if will ETL die, all right? And so this is gonna be a very interesting video for us today. So you definitely want to pay attention to for this. If you're looking at your career, or you're looking at the industry as a whole and trying to read the tea leaves where things are going, it's very important that we ask questions like this, because if ETL is going to die, it can help you with questions like, well, should I be investing in ETL? Should I build my career towards ETL or data integration? What is it going to look like? Not just 1 year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, but talking about 10 years, right? Because it might be relevant in the next 5 years, but in the next 10 years, if it's going to be irrelevant, you want to be positioning yourself accordingly in that space. So we ETL die. Before we talk about that, let's talk about Hadoop. Hadoop. I love Hadoop. All right. And Hadoop is a very interesting one, because the reason why I'm asking the question, will ETL die, is because a lot of people are coming to the conclusion that Hadoop is dead. All right. And Hadoop is one of those technologies that, when it came to the forefront with dot coding and MapReduce and HDFS and all of that, people literally made amazing careers working as Hadoop professionals, and it solved a lot of problems. All right. And so the way Hadoop worked was, you would go to one of the vendors, say Cloudera, right? Hortonworks has kind of merged with Cloudera, but back in the days, you have Hortonworks or MapArrow, all right? Or you can just go to Apache and you download your Hadoop environment, and then you come on-prem, you go to your premise, and you set up this cluster of nodes, right? A lot of nodes, and you set up a cluster, you install Hadoop, and you use that to run your data systems. And that was great for a while, until people started realizing that, all right, there's this thing called the cloud, all right? And I'm going to draw the cloud as such because it's limitless, all right? And the cloud has a couple of characteristics. It has very cheap storage, almost unlimited storage. Here, whereas you could be limited with your storage on-prem, the cloud can almost give you unlimited storage with S3, Blob, and the rest, all right? And at the same time, the cloud can also give you compute, all right? The cloud can also give you compute, almost unlimited compute. So now not only do you have unlimited storage, you have unlimited compute. So if the goal for Hadoop was to solve the problem of big data, well, if you're going on-prem and you go into the cloud and you had to choose between the two, it just makes sense logically, and that debate is already foregone. The conclusion has been drawn. The cloud is the undisputed champion. It's won the game, and anybody or any person investing in on-prem solution is simply buying time for the inevitable to happen, which is failure, all right? Because the cloud has won. If you're talking about big data, unstructured data, you can go cheaper, faster, quicker, putting it in the cloud and leveraging cloud solutions for it. So it just does not make sense in this day and age for anyone to be debating whether or not you can do Hadoop on-prem in a realistic way. It's just that debate has already been settled. The scores have already been provided. Cloud is the way to go. And so that leaves Hadoop begging to say, all right, I can't have a Hadoop cluster and such. So that was what spelled the death for Hadoop, all right? Cloud really spelled the death for Hadoop, because it just doesn't make sense to be trying to go and do all this monkey business on-prem when you can, just load your data to the cloud, get unlimited storage, cheaper than you will ever get here, all right? Remove all the capital expenditure that you need from on-premise, and you have, unlimited storage ready to go, You can bring an infinite amount of compute to process that data, whether you're talking about S3 and using EMR or Snowflake or using Redshift or some of the cloud solutions. It just makes sense, hands down, to go in the cloud approach versus on-prem. And so this is really what put the nail in the coffin of Hadoop. All right, people like, I don't know. I mean, Hortonworks merged with Cloudera just to save their face, right? And Cloudera, I don't know how long they will be in business, but I don't think it's going to be for a very long time unless they seriously pivot their business model to compete. All right, MapArrow has already faced its own calamity and was, I believe, bought out by HP or somebody like that. All right, so those are just all symptoms that that market has already failed, and cloud is really the place to go. All right, what does this have to do with ETL? All right, I'm not hoping that this video would be a bash on Hadoop. Like I mentioned, I spent quite a bit of my time and my career too building Hadoop systems, talking about Hadoop, Hortonworks. I spent quite a bit of time building Hortonworks clusters. Was very excited about it until I kind of was able to read the tea leaves that all right, things are changing, and many people in the industry saw that, and now Hadoop is really kind of like a dinosaur when you talk about it in some circles. All right, so let's talk about ETL. We've seen Hadoop and the fate that it faced, and the question that I had when I posed this question is will ETL face the same fate, right, that we've seen Hadoop gone through? All right, and people from when they did Hadoop, some people are still in denial. They still think that all right, I'm gonna go download my own Apache, put a cluster on-prem and try to make all of that work. That's just insane. If you see anybody doing that, just let them do it, all right? And they will face the consequences afterwards. But is ETL going to face the same fate with what we saw with Hadoop? That's really the big question. What does ETL mean, all right? I think we all know what ETL is, but if I was to go back and do a definition of ETL, is you imagine you have organizations, they have all this data, all right, sitting on different systems, some on-prem, some for partners, all right, some coming from APIs and such, and they want to build a data lake, or they want to build a data warehouse. So ETL, or data integration, let's write that down. Data integration is really this idea of, okay, we're gonna build pipelines to go to those different sources and integrate data, right? Basically move data, transform data as such, and then load it into your data warehouse or your analytical platform. All right, so this is what ETL is about. So I'm going to connect here, I'm going to move that data. So this data could be sitting in the cloud, it could be sitting on-prem, it could just be an API, it could be some files, right? Wherever it is, I'm going to connect using my ETL pipeline. And then I would run some scripts, maybe do some data quality, do some work around that, and then load it into my data warehouse. So what we saw was this whole idea of ETL and ELT and a lot of things happen in there. But today I'm not talking about ELT. I'm talking just specifically for ETL, right? What's going to be the fate for that? And this will come in perspective of thinking again about the cloud. So what we see here is the cloud is being very disruptive in this space. So I will use S3 as an example here. So let's think about the way S3 works. A lot of companies are going to the cloud. So if you think about the cloud as being this infinite space here, where you can have storage and compute, all right, and each different companies are kind of staking their own claims or positioning their own space in the cloud. All right, so this is company 1, right? Company 2, company 3, company 4, company 5. They all have their positions in the cloud. So when you go out, you create your own S3 bucket. All right, you're all running that on S3, all right, on AWS, or sometimes even Azure, right? We shouldn't leave Azure here. Azure, or even GCP or Google or Oracle, even whatever cloud you choose. IBM. I know IBM has a cloud, so we can't forget IBM. Now, the question is, and this is why this topic becomes very relevant, if we see the trend going to the cloud, and the cloud is the undisputed champion, where we're going to see a lot of companies moving and their analytical workloads and their data moving to the cloud, naturally it means that if I need some data, all right, it's for this company one, so C1, that data would be here in the cloud. All right, C2, let's say we have weather data. So C1 is sales data. C2 might be providing weather data. C3 might be providing accounts payables. All right, and they have it in the cloud. Maybe some SaaS solution that is built natively for the cloud. And so as such, they have that data. If they're running on Amazon, and S3 is the same Amazon infrastructure, the same Amazon ecosystem. So they have that data in the cloud. All right, let's say it's CRM data, right? Salesforce, for example, might be in the cloud. So what does ETL look in this regards? All right, what would ETL or doing data integration look in this regards if you're a data integration player? One way could be, well, we are going to build pipelines that would connect here, take that data out, right? Connect here, take the data out through the ETL pipeline that we have, and then just to write that data down here. All right, so I'm gonna take the data out. Let me change the color here. Take the data out with my ETL pipeline, maybe batch or streaming, and then I'm gonna, so if I want to take data from C1 and C3 and put it into C2, okay, if I need an ETL pipeline, I'm gonna copy C1, C2, sorry, C1, C3, and then I'll write it into C2. But that's a problematic approach, right? Because what you'll notice is the next logical question is, well, if this is already in the cloud, why do I have to, just have an intermediary here to copy the data out somewhere just to write it back to my C2 environment? What if I can just go directly and share that data from this person to this person? All right. The cloud is an infrastructure that uniquely allows us to do that, because I can just share that data without having to do the ETL. And now if I share that data, and I have the data within my infrastructure here, I can just start using the data without having to do ETL. All right. So this is it. So now you can start seeing this mesh of data sharing happening, because uniquely it's going on the same backbone in the cloud. All right. And this cannot happen if you're talking about on-prem. It makes sense to do ETL on-prem because you can just share data as such. Sure, FTP is kind of sharing data and some of the approaches there, but still, the way you share data uniquely within the cloud infrastructure is very different from where you share data on-prem. So this really goes into that idea of, if the wind is blowing towards this whole idea of instant access to data and sharing and collaboration in this data mesh, right? This is a term that you might hear as well. In this data mesh, then there's really very little value to be added when talking about doing ETL, all right? Because now instead of ETL, you're just talking about sharing, all right? So instead of you having to build a pipeline to go get a file and download the file and do all the monkey work, just have this person or this customer share the data to this customer, and they can have access to that instantly. And then, well, once they have access, they can now do their ELT, all right? They can run queries to do ELT on that data within their infrastructure, instead of having to wait for ETL pipelines to run every day, every hour, every night, or once a week with so much latency and disruptions to the business. So this is the thinking that prompted me to step back a little bit and ask that question: will ETL die? All right, and it's a fascinating question to ask. Now, this is my take on it. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people might have their own opinions on this. But what I want to do is I want to hear your opinions. Do you kind of see things this way? Am I missing something from this picture? This was the argument that I made very early on when I saw Hadoop and seeing how the cloud was kind of, being where everything was happening. And you could see that, even though people are in denial that it just does not make sense to be doing this, you can just put that data in the cloud and take advantage of cloud solutions. I think cloud is providing us a very unique capability here for that instant data sharing with data. And I made a different video on this with data exchange and data marketplaces and things like that, where companies want to have control over the data, share it instantly, put more governance around it, and own that process of exposing who has access to that data versus introducing external third-party data integration players for that. All right, I can't tell you how many organizations I speak with, and they complain of, oh, the ETL is slow. And if you tell them of one ETL product, they'll tell you how that product is expensive, or the product, needs a lot more resources just to do ETL. And the companies complain a lot about that. Whereas if you can just share and give me instant access to that data, I don't need ETL. Absolutely not. All right. I just, if I'm trying to get weather information, I just find who has weather and get them to share that to me, and I can just grab that in my data platform and start working without having to do some ETL processes. All right. And if I need to format the data with SQL, I'm just doing it within my process with ELT. And that process of the integration piece is simply disappears. All right, hopefully this was helpful. Again, I'm not making any predictions on this. I think with like many other debates in life, the lines are usually blurry, the battlefields are not always clear, and the future cannot be predicted. But I think what we can do is we can read the tea leaves and see where things are going. And if you're thinking about your career, or you're thinking about making decisions for your organizations, this is something that I will pay attention to. You don't always have to wait until the inevitable happens before you make the course correction. You want to read those tea leaves, see where the wind is blowing, and start heading in that direction before you're caught by surprise. And so with that said, I think ETL will face some challenges. The concept of ETL might have to pivot a little bit at some point, because otherwise this whole idea of data sharing, instant access to data, would just obliterate the concept of ETL and put a lot of people out of jobs, or a lot of companies in trouble. All right, this is Fru. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to go into the comment section below, leave that, and I'll see what I can do. Again, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.